And welcome back to the broadcast. Katrina Litzman is joining us, as well as Eran Reut from Israel. You know, about the rise in anti-Semitism. You work for a very important think tank in Jerusalem. And, you know, today marks the 2-year anniversary of the Abraham Accords. Why and how is this relevant to Americans and to the world continuing as you consider the rise in anti-Semitism around the world?
Right, so I think that it is relevant to Americans in several ways. First of all, America was the great architect of one of the most amazing diplomatic achievements in the past few decades. Dozens of years of hostility between Israel and key Arab states, Arab and Muslim states, have ended following the negotiation and the reframing of the American administration in this regard. Second, we believe that this model of cooperation could be duplicated also on the national level, also on the social level, by providing an example of cooperation between American Muslim communities and American Jews against certain challenges that they are facing, including the rise of anti-Semitism.
You know, Reut, you guys held a strategic summit a couple of days ago right here in Washington, D.C. What was the goal of this unprecedented meeting that took place here right in my backyard?
So that's exactly what we were trying to do. We were trying to leverage, to see how we can leverage the Abraham Accords in order to generate mobilization of Arab Muslims and American Arab Muslims and American Jews against anti-Semitism and challenges that Muslim communities are facing. We had 60 leaders, American Muslims, American Jews, people from the Abraham Accords countries, people from Israel, philanthropists, diplomats, and so forth. And the idea was to think of what language can we use, what could be a galvanizing vision that makes sense to both communities that will mobilize us against a threat that we believe is a very important threat to communities today, which is the threat of illiberalism, mainly emanating from radical progressive groups.
You know, it's interesting, Karina, listening to Eran. You know, Eran, why should Americans be concerned about the Green Alliance, which probably many of them have never heard of?
Yeah, so maybe just a short word about what the Red-Green Alliance is. It's a social phenomenon. It's not a formal organization. We're not talking about a conspiracy theory. It's a social phenomenon that has been described by many historians and intellectuals. The Reds refer to socialist, radical leftists in Europe that have been collaborating with Islamist organizations. These are the Greens, often affiliated with the Muslim Brotherhood. These forces have a very broad agenda. They're anti-West, anti-America, anti-imperialist. Only their ideas in regards to Israel seem to have gained weight. They have been the driving force behind the rise of anti-Semitism in Europe in the past couple of decades. We have seen that this phenomena is gradually penetrating America. Notably, in 2014, the slogan "From Ferguson to Palestine" is very telling in this regard. And they have been starting influencing the challenge that the Jewish communities and Muslim communities are facing, in the sense that many Jews feel that under the current construct, they are being erased. Namely, as I mentioned earlier, the framing of Jews as white and privileged, even if not based on hate, often results in bias and discrimination, including by trivializing anti-Semitism. If Jews are whites, then it's not such a big problem.
Ron, you know, our president was in Israel recently, en route to Saudi Arabia. What has been the aftermath of his visit?
So currently, I think that the momentum of the Abraham Accords has stopped. And what we want to actually do is to try to generate mobilization in America, as I've mentioned, between American Muslims and American Jews, to regenerate the momentum of the Abraham Accords, to fight against a well-defined threat, which is the threat of illiberalism in America, in a way that would benefit both communities because of their own interests. And this is something that was discussed yesterday in our summit.
Eran, we talk about all the concerns and what should frighten us in the world. What gives you hope?
What gives me hope is exactly the Abraham Accords. We see how after, as I mentioned earlier, dozens of years of hostility between Israel and Arab and Muslim countries, peace had come. But it's not just peace between the governments, it is intrinsically peace between the people. Israel has normalized its relations with the countries with all what that means. That gives me hope that we will be able to duplicate this model here internally in America in order to deal with the polarization and illiberalism that I believe that both communities, Muslims and Jews alike, are suffering from.
And I want to thank you both for joining us, and I wish you both well in your endeavors. And we'll be back as we remember Queen Elizabeth II.